We're back. Continuing reading the Nirvana Sutra. We're starting back on page 9 of the sutra. So I'll just continue reading. Also, I'm gonna move this so that it's more in line with what we're actually talking. All right. Also, there were present the gods of the 4 great seas and of the rivers, who were as numerous as the sands of Asamgas of Ganges, and who all had great virtues and heavenly feet. Their offerings were twice as many as those who had preceded them. The lights that emanated from the bodies of these gods and those of the masked dancers so eclipsed the light of the sun and the moon that they were hidden and could not be seen anymore. Kampaka flowers were strewn upon the waters of river Hiranyavati. They came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, stepped back, and sat down to one side.
At this time, the forest of sal trees of Kusingagara changed color and looked like white cranes. In the sky, a hall of 7 treasures spontaneously appeared. Detailed decorations were engraved. There were balustrades all around, with gems studded into them. Down the buildings were streams and the bathing places of ponds where wonderful lotuses floated. It looked as if one were in Uttarakuru, in the pleasure of Prayastrimsa heaven. That is how things were in the South Forest. The adornments all lovely and wonderful. The Devas, Asuras, and others all witnessed the scene of the Tathagatas entering Nirvana and were sunk in sorrow, sad, and woebegone.
Then the 4 guardian angels of the earth and Sakrodevenradra said to one another, "See, all devas, human beings, and asuras are making preparations and intend to make their final offerings to the Tathagata. We too shall do the same. If we can make our final offerings, it will not be hard to be perfect in Dana Paramita." At that time, the offerings of the 4 guardian angels of the earth were twice as many as those that had preceded them. They carried in their hands all such flowers as mandaras, mahamandara, kakiruka, makakakiruka, manjusaka, Mahamanjusaka, Santanika, Maka Santanika, loving, greatly loving, Samantabhadra, Maha Samantabhadra, time, great time, fragrant castle, greatly fragrant castle, joy, great joy, desire calling, great desire calling, fragrant, intoxicating, greatly fragrant, intoxicating, all fragrant, greatly all fragrant, heavenly golden leaves. Naga Puspa, Parisitra, Kovidara, and also carrying wonderful dishes, they came to where the Buddha was and touched his feet with their heads. All the light of these devas outshone the light of the sun and moon, so that these could not be seen. With these utensils, they intended to make offerings to the Buddha. The Tathagata, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. Their wishes not granted, the devas were sad and worried, and they stepped back and sat to one side. Some of the things like the names of the flowers and stuff, I want to clarify. This is the original translation from Chinese to English. So some of these names, like that we're seeing, like time, great time, fragrant castle, or we even saw it in the Shrugama Sutra. Those are translations of some of those words. So just for reference.
At that time, Sakrodevendra and the beings of Trayastrimsa heaven carried up the vessels of their offerings, which were twice as many as those that had preceded them. The flowers which they carried were equally as many. Wonderful was the fragrance, very lovely to smell. They carried the victory hall, Vijayanta, and many small halls, and came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, and said to him, O world-honored one, we greatly love and protect Mahayana. O Tathagata, please accept our dishes. The Tathagata, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. Chakra and all the devas, their wishes not fulfilled, were sad. They stepped back and sat on one side.
The offerings of those up to the sixth heaven increased in size one after the other. There were bejeweled hanging ensigns, banners, and parasols. Even the smallest of the bejeweled parasols covered the four lands. The smallest of the banners covered the four seas. Even the shortest of the hanging ensigns reached Masrava's heaven. Soft breezes blew and sweet sounds arose. Carrying up the sweetest dishes, they came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, and said to him, O world-honored one, pray, O Tathagata, have pity and accept our last offerings. The Tathagata, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. Their wishes not answered, all devas were sad. They stepped back and sat to one side.
All the devas up to the highest heaven were gathered there. At the time, great Brahma and other devas put forth light which shone over the four lands. To the men and devas of the world of desire, the lights of the sun and moon were all hidden. They had bejeweled hanging ensigns, banners and parasols of colored silk. Even the smallest banner which hung on Brahma's palace came down to where the sal trees stood. They came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, and said to him, O world-honored one, pray, O Tathagata, have pity and accept our last offerings. The Tathagata, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. At this, the devas, their wishes unfulfilled, were sad. They stepped back and sat on one side.
At that time, Vimasitra, the king of Asuras, was present with innumerable great relatives. The light that shone was brighter than that of Brahma. He had bejeweled hanging ensigns, banners, and parasols. Even the smallest banner covered 1,000 worlds. Carrying the sweetest dishes, they came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, and said to him, Pray, O Tathagata, have pity and accept our last offerings. The Tathagata, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. Their wishes were not answered, so all the asuras were sad. They stepped back and sat on one side.
At that time, Mara Papias of the world of desire, with all of his kindred demons and domestic females, and with his innumerable people, opened the gates of hell, sprinkled about pure water, and said, You now have nothing to do. Only think of the Tathagata, the alms-deserving, and the all-enlightened one. Take part in joy and offer your last offerings. You now shall have a long night of peace. And Mara Papias made away with all the big and small swords and the poison and pain of hell. He had rain fall and extinguish the burning fire. Through the Buddha's power, he gained this state of mind. He made all his kindred demons throw away their big and small swords, bows, crossbows, armor, arms, halberds, shields, long hooks, metal hammers, axes, war chariots, and lassos. What offerings they had were twice as many as those of man in heaven. Even the smallest of the parasols covered the middle 1,000 world. They came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, and said to him, "We now love and protect Mahayana, O world-honored one. Men and women in the world may, for the purpose of making offerings, out of fear, for reasons of cheating others for profit, and for following others, accept this Mahayana. Whether all of it is true or not true, we shall then, in order to make away with the fear of such ones, enunciate the following Dharani. Taki, Tatarataki, Rokare, Makarokari, Ara, Shara, Tara, Taka. We chant this Dharani, for the sake of those who have lost their courage, who may be entertaining fear, who preach for others, who pray that the Dharma shall not die out, who desire to crush out the Hirtikas. For protecting one's own self, for protecting the wonderful Dharma, and for protecting Mahayana. Armed with this Dharani, one had no fear of the mad elephant, or when crossing wildernesses, marshy lands, or any precipitous places, there can be no fear of water, fire, lions, tigers, wolves, robbers, or kings. O world-honored one, armed with such a Dharani, none will have fear. We shall protect the person who has such a Dharani, and he will be like a tortoise who guards his 6 limbs inside his shell. O world-honored one, we do not say this just to flatter. In truth, we will make such things such that one armed with such a Dharani will augment his power. Only we pray, O Tathagata, have pity and accept our last offerings. Then the Buddha said to Marapapiyas, I do not accept your offerings. I already have your Dharani. This is to make all beings and the 4 classes of people of the Sangha rest in peace. So saying, the Buddha fell into silence and did not accept Marapapiya's offerings. Thrice Marapapiyas asked the Buddha to accept him, but the Buddha would not. At this, his wishes unanswered, Marapapiyas was sad and stepped back and sat on one side.
At that time, there was present Mahesvara Raja with his innumerable kindred and other devas. They carried their vessels of offerings, which were far more than those of Brahma and Indra, and those of the guardian angels of the earth, men and devas, the 8 beings and non-humans. The preparations which Sakrodevendra had made looked like black against white, as when the white of horseshoe shell is taken up for comparison, and all glory disappears. Even the smallest of the bejeweled parasols covered the 3,000 great thousand worlds. Carrying such vessels of offerings, they came to where the Buddha was, touched his feet with their heads, walked around him innumerable times, and said to him, O world-honored one, what paltry things we now have with us may equal to offerings made by mosquitoes and sawflies to the man throwing a scoop of water into the great ocean, or to try to assist with a small light that of 100,000 suns, or trying in spring and summer when there are so many flowers, with just a single flower to add to the glories of all the flowers, or to the splendor of Mount Sumeru with just a pickpocket seed? How could there be any augmenting of the great ocean, of the brightness of the sun, of all the flowers, and of Sumeru? World honored one, what little we carry in here may well be likened to this. We could indeed offer you incense, flowers, masked dancers, banners, and parasols of the 3,000 great thousand worlds, but these are still not worthy of mention. Why not? Because you always undergo pains in the unfortunate realms of hell, hungry pretas and animals. Because of this, O world honored one, please have pity and likewise accept our offerings. Now in the
Now in the east, there is a Buddha land, as many lands far out as the sands of uncountable, innumerable Asamkhya's of Ganges. One called Easy in Mind and Beautiful in Sound, and the Buddha is called Equal to the Void and Tathagata, alms deserving, the all enlightened one and all accomplished one, the well gone, the all knower, the unsurpassed one, best trainer, the teacher of heaven and earth, and the Buddha world honored one. At that time, the Buddha spoke to his foremost great disciple, go now to the land in the west called Jaha. There is a Buddha in that land called Tathagata Shakyamuni, who is the alms deserving, the all enlightened one, the all accomplished one, the well gone, the all knower, the unsurpassed one, the best trainer, the teacher of heaven and earth, and the Buddha world honored one. He will enter parinirvana before long. O good man, carry to him the fragrant dishes of this world, the ones fragrant and beautiful which give peace. Offer this to him. Having taken this, he will enter parinirvana. O good man, now also bow before the Buddha, put questions to him, and do away with whatever doubt you have. Then the Bodhisattva Mahasattva of boundless body at that stood up from his seat, touched the Buddha's feet with his head, walked around the Buddha 3 times, took him with innumerable asamkhyas of bodhisattvas, left that country and came to this land of Saha. The 3,000 great thousand worlds shook in 6 ways the hair of those congregated there. Kama, Indra, the 4 guardian angels of the earth, Arapapiyas, and Masivara, at this great shaking of the great earth, stood up on end, and their throats and tongues dried up in fear. They were so frightened that they shook and wanted to flee in all directions. As they looked at their own bodies, their light was lost, and gone was all their divine appearance. Then Dharmara Japutra Manjushri stood up and spoke to those congregated there. Good people, do not fear, do not be afraid. Why not? To the east, as many as the sands of innumerable, uncountable Asamkhyas of Ganges away. There is a land called Easy in Mind and Beautiful in Sound. The Buddha's name in that land is Tathagata, equal to the void, the alms deserving, the all enlightened one. He possesses the 10 epithets of the Buddha. There is a bodhisattva there of boundless body, accompanied by innumerable bodhisattvas. He desires to come here and make offerings to the Tathagata. By the power of that Buddha, your body now does not shine out. So gladden yourselves, do not fear. Then those congregated saw far off a great number of people from that Buddha, whom they saw as though they were their own forms reflected in a mirror. Then Manjushri said to those congregated there, you now see the people of that Buddha just as you see the Buddha himself. By the Buddha's power, you can clearly see all the innumerable Buddhas of the 9 other Buddha countries. At that, the people congregated there said to one another, "Oh, woe is the day, woe is the day, the world is empty, the Tathagata will before long enter peri-nirvana."
Now all the people saw the Bodhisattva boundless body and his retinue, and they saw that from each pore of the skin of this Bodhisattva there sprung a great lotus, each containing 78 castle towns, crosswise and lengthwise. Each castle was Vyasali castle. The castle walls and moats were studded with the 7 treasures. There were bejeweled avenues of 7 rows of tala trees. The people were active, peaceful, rich, and it was comfortable to live in that land. Each castle was of Jambunadasuvarna. Each had in it the trees of the 7 treasures. The growths were luxuriant and rich, where the flowers and fruits. Soft breezes blew, emitting sweet sounds as heavenly music. The people of the castle, hearing these sounds, felt great pleasure. The moats were filled with wonderful water. It was pure and fragrant and looked like true beryl. On the water, boats of the 7 treasures could be seen. People were riding on these. They bathed and enjoyed themselves. Thus there was no end of pleasure. Also, there were lotuses of various colors, such as the Upala, Kumuda, Padma, and Pundarika. These looked like great wheels seen crosswise and lengthwise. Above the moats were many gardens. In each were 5 ponds, in which there were again such flowers as Utpala, Kumuda, Padma, and Pundarika, which resemble great wheels seen crosswise and lengthwise. They were fragrant and pleasing. The water was pure and soft to the touch. On this could be seen lapwings, wild geese, and mandarin ducks floating. Garden houses of gems were there, each of which was brightly square, crosswise and lengthwise, filling an area of 7 yojanas square. All the walls were made of the 4 treasures, gold, silver, beryl, and crystal. All around were windows, lattice windows, and handrails of true gold. The ground was of Turkestan dwarf and covered in golden sand. In this palace were many streams, springs, and bathing ponds of the 7 treasures. Each side wall had 18 ladder steps of gold. The plantain was the Jambunda Suvarna and resembled the pleasance of Prayastrimsa heaven. Each of these castles accommodated 80,000 kings, and each king had with him innumerable consorts and female attendants. All were assuming themselves and were pleased and happy. The same applied to the people who were amusing themselves where they lived. The people heard no teachings other than the unsurpassed Mahayana. On each flower was a simhasana, each leg made of beryl. On each seat was spread a white, soft, silken cloth. The cloth was wonderful, unsurpassed in all 3 worlds. On each seat was sat a king, preaching Mahayana to his people. Some were holding books in their hands, reciting and practicing the way. Thus Mahayana sutras became popularized. I think it pupularized. Thank you. The Bodhisattva of boundless body allowed innumerable people to walk thereabouts pleased with themselves and abandoning worldly pleasures. All said, woe is the day, woe is the day, the world is empty, the Tathagata will soon enter parinirvana.
Then the Bodhisattva of boundless body, followed by innumerable bodhisattvas, and with wonderful divine power carried out innumerable and various containers of offerings, filled with wonderfully fragrant sweet dishes. On encountering the fragrance of these meals, all the taints of illusion died out. Because of the Bodhisattva's divine power, the people saw all such transformations. The size of this Bodhisattva, a boundless body, was limitless and like space. Excepting the Buddha, none indeed could see the bodily size of this Bodhisattva. The offerings of this Bodhisattva of boundless body were double those that had preceded them, and they came to where the Buddha was. They touched the Buddha's feet, folded their hands, paid him homage, and said, "O world honored one, please have pity and accept our offerings." The Tathagata, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. 3 times they asked, but he would not accept. So the Bodhisattva of boundless body and his retinue stepped back and sat on one side. The same was the case with the Bodhisattvas of boundless body of all the Buddha lands to the south, west, and north. They carried in offerings twice as many as those which had preceded them. They came to where the Buddha was, stepped back, and sat on one side. All proceeded in this manner.
Then there did not remain a space left in the auspicious ground of wheel between the sal trees, and within 32 yojanas square, which was not full of people. At the time, all space around the persons of the Bodhisattva of boundless body and his retinue, who were gathered there from the 4 quarters, looked like the point size of a mote, or all of a needle. All the great bodhisattvas of the innumerable Buddha lands of the 10 directions were gathered together there. In addition, all people of Jambudvipa were assembled there, except for the pair Mahakasyapa and Ananda, and also Ajatasattu and his retinue. And the poisonous serpent that harmed people, the dung beetles, Halia vipers, scorpions, and doer of evil of 16 kinds, the Danavats and Asuras had all forsaken their evil designs and had become compassionate-minded, like fathers, mothers, elders, and younger sisters. All the people of the 3,000 great thousand worlds came together and spoke to one another with the same compassionate heart, except for the Ikshantikas.
Then, by the power of the Buddha, the 3,000 worlds became soft to the touch. There were no longer any hills, sand, gravel, thistles, or poisonous plants there, but all was adorned with various treasures, as in the case of the Western paradise of peace and happiness of Buddha Amitayas. At that time, all those congregated there saw the innumerable number of Buddha lands as though seeing their forms reflected in a mirror. The same was the case when they saw the lands of all the Buddhas.
The light that issued from the Tathagata's face was fivefold in color, and it shone and covered all the great congregation, so that it blotted out the light that came out of the body. Having done this, it again turned back to the Buddha, back to him through his mouth. Then the heavenly beings and all those congregated there, asuras and others, became greatly afraid. They said, "The light of the Tathagata, having appeared, has gone back, goes back and enters. This is not without reason. This indicates that the Buddha has done what he intended to do in the 10 directions and will now enter nirvana as his last act. This must be what it means to indicate to us. Woe is the world, woe is the world. Why is it that the world-honored one so forsakes the four limitless minds and does not accept the offerings of man and heaven? The light of wisdom is now going out eternally. The unsurpassed abode of Dharma is now sinking. Ah, the pain, woe is the world. They held up their hands, beat their breasts, and sorrowfully cried out and wept. Their limbs shook, and they did not know how to support themselves. Blood came from their bodies and ran over the ground.
At that time, there were present among the congregation an Upasaka who was the son of an artisan of this fortress town of Kusingara. Kunda was his name. He was there with his comrades, 15 in number. In order that the world should generate a good fruit, he abandoned all bodily adornments, stood up, bared his right shoulder, placed his right knee on the ground, and folding his hands, looked up at the Buddha. Sorrowfully and tearfully, he touched the Buddha's feet with his head and said, O world-honored one and bhikkhus, please have pity and accept our last offerings and succor innumerable beings. O world-honored one, from now on we have no master, no parents, no salvation, no protection, no place wherein to take refuge, and no place to go. We shall be poor and hunger-ridden. Following the Tathagata, we desire to gain food for the days to come. Please have pity and accept our petty offerings. And then enter Nirvana. O world-honored one, this is, as in the case of Hishatriya, Brahmin, Vaishya, or Sudra, who, being poor, goes to a far-off country. He works at farming and indeed gains a trained cow. The land is good, flat, and square. There is no poor sandy soil, no harmful weeds, no barrenness, no defilements. What is needful is awaiting the rain from heaven. We say trained cow. This may be likened to 7 actions of the body and mouth, and the good field flat and square to wisdom. Doing away with the poor soil, harmful weeds, barrenness, and defilement referred to illusion, which we must do away with. O world-honored one, I now have with me the trained cow and good soil, and I have tilled the land and done away with all the weeds. I am now only awaiting the Tathagata's sweet reign of Dharma to visit me. The 4 castes of poverty are none but the carnal body that I possess. I am poor as I do not possess the superb treasure of Dharma. Pray, have pity, and cut away our poverty and hardships, and rid us, innumerable beings, of our sorrows and worries. What offerings I make are paltry, but what I think is that they will satisfy the Tathagata and Sangha. I now have no master, no parents, no refuge. Please have pity on us, as you have on Rahula.
Then the world-honored one, the all-knowing, the unsurpassed trainer said to Kunda, This is good, good indeed. I shall now cut off the roots of your poverty and let fall on your field of carnal life the unsurpassed reign of Dharma, and call forth the bud of Dharma. You now desire to have from me life, body, power, peace, and unhindered speech. And I shall give to you undying life, body, power, peace, and unhindered speech. Why? O Kunda, in offerings of meals there are 2 fruits that know of no distinction. What are the 2? Firstly, one attains Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi when one receives it. Secondly, one enters nirvana after receiving it. I will now receive your last offering and let you accomplish Dana Paramita.
At that, Kunda said to the Buddha, "You say that there is no difference between the results of these two offerings, but this is not so. Why not? Because in the former case of receiving dana, illusion is not yet done away with, and he is not yet perfect in all knowledge, and he cannot yet because beings to enjoy dana paramita. As to the latter category of receiving dana, illusion has gone, and he is accomplished in all knowledge and can let all beings be blessed equally with dana paramita. The former man who receives offerings is still a common being, but the latter, the heaven of heavens, one that receives dana in the former category is one with a body supported by various kinds of food, a body of illusion, a body where there yet remains the result of illusion, and a non-eternal body. A person who receives dana in the second category has the body of no illusion, the adamantine body, the dharma body, the eternal body, and the boundless body. How can one say that the results of the dana performed in the two categories are one and do not differ? The person who receives dana in the former category is one not yet accomplished in dana paramita, up to the prajna paramita. He only has the fleshy eye, but not the Buddha eye, nor the eye of wisdom. The case of the person receiving dana in the latter category is that of one perfect in dana paramita, up to prajna paramita, and also in the fleshy eye, up to the eye of wisdom. How can we say that the results of these two danas are the same and that there is no difference? O world-honored one, in the case of the former, one who receives dana takes meals which get into his abdomen and get digested, and he gains life, carnal body, power, ease, and unhindered speech. In the case of the latter, the person does not eat, digest, and there are no results of the five things. How can we say that the results of the two danas are one and the same and not different?
Buddha said, "O good man, the Tathagata already since innumerable boundless asamkayas of kalpas ago has had no body supported by food and illusion, and he has no body where there yet remains the result of illusion. He is the eternal, the Dharma body, and the adamantian body. O good man, one who has not yet seen Buddhata is called the illusion body, the body supported by various kinds of food, the body where there yet remains the result of illusion. The bodhisattva, as he partakes of the food, enters the adamantian samadhi. When that food is digested, he sees Buddhata, and attains unsurpassed Bodhi. That is why I say the result of the two danas are equal and that they are not different. The bodhisattvas at that time crushes the four maras. Now entering nirvana, he crushes the four maras. That is why I say the result of the two danas are equal and that they are not different. The Bodhisattva at the time does not widely speak about the 12 types of Buddhist sutras, but he is versed in these already. Now upon entering nirvana, he speaks expansively of them for being's sake. That is why I say that the results of the two danas are equal and that they are not different. O good man, the body of the Tathagata has not partaken of food and drink for innumerable amatayas of kalpas past, but for all Shravakas' sake, I say that I took the mild cooked porridge offered by Nanda and Nandabala, the two shepherd women, and that thereafter I attained unsurpassed Bodhi. But in truth, I did not take it. Now, for the sake of the people congregated here, I shall accept your offerings. but in truth, I do not partake of it. So you can see he's talking about desire. He's talking about the giving and receiving in the correct way without expectations, the unconditional giving and the unconditional receiving. There is no desire for the food. As you eat it, you can still eat it, but partaking of it and encouraging those thoughts of desire to take hold or exist or continue to exist is not something that happens in Supreme Bodhi. And so that's what he's talking about. And when he says porridge offered by Nanda and Nanda Bala, that's, of course, the story of the Buddha's life, where he thought asceticism might be the way to enlightenment. And he almost starved to death, but was saved by the porridge. And then shortly after he was saved from starvation, he attained the enlightenment and Buddhahood. So you can see, that Kunda was asking to clarification on the two kinds of offerings, being the offering of physical food that you would eat in order to survive, and the offering of Dharma knowledge of the experience of Supreme Bodhi. And the Buddha is saying they are not different, because you can have the experience of Supreme Bodhi while you are having the experience of accepting dana in the form of food. It is 5 o'clock, and I just want to make sure that we give enough time for our Sangha sharing.
I just want to. Oh, sorry. I just want to thank you for that last interpretation. Yeah, that was very nice.
Yeah, we're finally getting into hearing the words of the Buddha.
I know. These are kind of core studies for the Chan tradition. So, and that is the way of the Shrangama anyway. So, very important part, their core teachings. So, kind of have to go through them anyway, even though it's kind of repetitive and it's stuff we already know. It's still very important. So, thank you. It was my request for this sutra, by the way, for everyone. My request. So, thank you.
Yep. It's very exciting because it's one that I haven't read before, and having read a lot of them, there's something special about reading it for the first time.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you.